like who will give you the easiest time, essentially. Also, let's move Twitch chat just a little bit. All right? There we go. But yeah. And it's for CC only. There's lever PvP modes, but that's not a factor here, because there will be some classes that are like, you know, garbage here for the purpose of this tier list in climbing to Crystal. But they'll be like kind of godlike in front lines. You might know who I'm talking about with that. But we'll go ahead and I guess we could just get started here. All right, so we're gonna start with just the order down here. So I'm like also thinking as I go here, because you know some of them are like, I would say debatable. Like some people might view them as stronger for climbing, depending on how well you know how to use them and stuff like that. And I think Dragoon is a good example of that. I would actually put Dragoon in S though. Dragoon is insanely strong. If you know what you're doing at a basic level, you get big reward. And then if you know what you're doing at a higher level with abusing the basically damage amp mode from like the Gerskogo, you will do crazy damage, especially when you go in for the assassination combo. And the best part about Dragoon is that, like, they have a wonderful escape option as well. So if you're like in a bad position, you don't have to like be, especially because like their backflip breaks bind, which is fucking amazing actually. Actually like can really get you out of situations really easily that others would not be able to get out of. But yeah, in general, if you know the combo, like, and you set up it with Gerskogo first, where the combo is basically the Dragon Worm Lance, then like dive in, pop all your nuking skills, and then boom, profit. Like it can kill people really fast, and that's something that's very good in climbing. So yeah. All right. Next one, Ninja. Ninja's a little hard for me because I think Ninja is incredibly good, but they're also like much harder to play. I might just put them at A for now. They could be here though, but the thing that's kind of holding me back is they're hard to play. So Ninja's awesome because like they're basically like the Swiss Army knife of all the classes in Final Fantasy PvP. They can do almost everything. They can heal other allies, which most people don't know, which is kind of like, and can sometimes be a game-winning decision. Like they have so much cool shit in their kit, but you really have to know like, okay, what am I gonna use my chakra for at this moment? And it can also lead to situations where it's like kind of tough to decide or make the correct decision, in the sense that if you also use your chakra too early, or whatever it's called, the ninjutsus, you might not have it ready for a better situation. And I've encountered that a lot when I've practiced this character, where I would always start with like the shield plus Huton opener at the start of a round. And then I would be like, well, they all clustered up. This would have been great to have the Mekyo, which is the big AoE fire attack. Like, that would kind of bodied their team. It's like kind of stuff like that. Like, you have to play very reactionary, and you have to kind of play like very smart. But let's talk about their strong suits. So they can like an entire team. So that's already one of the best things in the game right there. If you find the right team fight with Seitan Tenchu, which is their alt, you basically get to just keep killing everyone when they go under 50% HP, and that wins games very easily if you like get that set up. They have wonderful escape tools, great mobility, good AoE damage, and fantastic single target burst too. And if you play it right, you can also do the Shuriken into the Hyosho ninjutsu into Seitan Tenchu. And that sequence, if you're doing it on a squishy character, will pretty much kill them if they don't reactionary heal. So You have some good options there. And I've seen people pull that off in competitive 5v5 and others fall for it. So it's just so much damage. The other thing I find good about Ninja too is that when they use the gap closing stun move, I forget the name, it's really good because it also just heavily burns people's immunity, their purification. So what you can do is you can gap close to someone, then check if they're going to purify it. And then when they do, then just gap close someone else. And then boom, you get like 2 seconds of stun on multiple people, and you possibly burn 2 immunities, which is insanely good. Alright. Samurai. So, I'm not gonna lie, Samurai is kind of like these guys in the sense that it's hard to play, but you can do stuff. But I would say even harder. So I would say like B or C. I'll maybe put B for now, but Samurai's tough. Samurai got a lot of nerfs over time, and so like, you know, they just aren't nearly as oppressive as they used to be. Samurai's ult also is really bad. I'm just let out of the gates there. It's actually a really bad ult. The reason is because even though it does the basically instant kill when you proc the counter, most people who are climbing in ranked have been doing it for a good amount of time, and they don't fall for it anymore. I've noticed when I've played it, amongst other things. But yeah, like the other thing too is that it's on a 2-minute cooldown, so in most normal matches, if you even get to the point of the enrage timer or the sudden death, you only use 2 ults. Whereas other classes are out here using like 3 to 4 to 5 even. And that's a huge difference because you realize that ults really matter in like pushes and stuff. So the fact that like Samurai is just kind of sitting there is like not the best. Now, I have seen Samurai be pretty good in some competitive 5v5 team from a viewer on this channel, and I was like kind of changed my opinion there a little bit if you know what you're doing and you burst with them, but you know, that's a different story. Like, you know, I think they could be good in competitive maybe if you have a team that works with it and stuff like that, but for climbing, it is very hard on Samurai from experience. But again, it depends on the kind of player. If a player knows it really well, I've seen people do really well with it, even in Crystal and Solo Queue. So, all right, we're gonna talk about like the first really strong class here, Reaper. So Reaper is insane, and they buffed Reaper, and I'm just like, why would they do that? Because Reaper already has the potential to be the best. The only thing that's holding it back is it's kind of difficult to play a little bit, at least to like pub stomp people, and that's what Reaper is so good at. And now what I mean by this is Reaper in like lower elos and stuff like that, and I even talked to like some streamers about this as well. Like it can be a little difficult because the best part about Reaper is Reaper's ult, Communio, and the transformation in Shroud. Because when you pop it, it does that big AoE fear, and in higher end play, like Diamond Plus, that's almost always a kill. And it almost always is from my experience. Like, it really just is the kill people button, and that is insanely powerful to have, especially because it has one of the shortest cooldowns of all the ults in PvP, and then on top of that, the Plentiful Harvest gives you a buff that gives you LV generation, which is insane. That is so crazy, actually. Like, I can't even tell you how good that is. And then, not only that, their damage is just through the roof. If they get off their death warrant combo on you, you're just dead. I've like had situations where like I caught a white mage without guard and I hit them with the full death warrant combo and they just evaporated from full HP even when they were trying to heal. It's like if you catch people in the wrong positions, Reaper is the most punishing for that. The other good thing about Reaper, and I think this is the main strength of Reaper, is, well, actually, there's another thing, but we'll talk about that after. The main best thing is, of course, the ult. And the reason it's so good is because when you're fighting people and you start like with a Death Warrant combo, right? Where you apply the damage accumulation debuff. The thing about that debuff is if people start shielding, you kind of get nothing out of it. But the transformation into your ult rips them out of their guard. So if you know how to use that, you just teleport in, you start your combo, you like bind them because you're in the ult, and or like you slow them because you're not in the ult. Um, then once they pop guard, you just pop ult, and then they're done. They can't do anything about it. And even then, if you hit all the damage before they put up guard, the Death Warrant is true damage, so it ignores the guard. At least that part of it. So I've seen many situations where people pop guard thinking it will save them, but it doesn't. So yeah, Reaper is incredible. Also has the best like movement tool in of all the classes, at least all the melee classes. Maybe of all the classes actually. Teleport's amazing because like you can just use it to go in and then you can choose to get out if you want. So you can also use it to greedily press buttons and put up your soul mechanic in some cases. But there are other good uses for it that I've done where like or I've discovered pretty much where you can like if you're like losing a fight, like a 1v1 or a 1v2 or 3 and you're not getting CC'd, you can like teleport a little further into one of their HP packs, wait there a moment and then teleport back because then they'll have to try and chase you over there and then you just teleport back. It usually works in a lot of cases in solo queue. Unless they're like aware you're doing that, then it might not work. But anyways, Reaper super good, super big damage. Honestly, I think is maybe the best right now if you know what you're doing. But we're talking about like difficulty 2, so I'm gonna say that like we'll have it right here. Hey guys, this is actually post-edit Joe here. I wanted to do this really quick because there are a few things I forgot to talk about with Reaper that are particularly good. One of them being, of course, they have a shield, and this shield gives them a damage amplification. Also, when it breaks, it gives you know, you and your nearby party members a regen, which is quite nice utility to have. Um, but yeah, on top of that, just having a 12k potency shield is really good. It lets you get a lot more aggressive, and then like you're safe while doing it. The other thing I forgot to talk about is the fact that um, like plentiful harvest, whenever you collect up your souls, it gets stronger. I was kind of hinting at this, but I didn't really explain it exactly, so that was my bad. Basically, there's two ways to get souls. You do the soul slice, or you kill someone. And when you kill someone or get an assist, you get a soul stack. The maximum is 8, and as you can see, soul slice comes back up very fast, so it can be very fast to stack it up, which is kind of why sometimes you want to hold your plentiful harvest. So you can do a big burst. But yeah, when you have full stacks, it does 24k damage. So we're gonna like show a bit of that here. I won't exactly get up to 8 because that'll take a moment, but you can do like, get in the shield for the damage amp, start with a GCD or something, put that out, do that, bam, 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 and then watch this. They're gonna take huge amounts of damage here from the Death Warrant. 18k. That is huge, and that was not the 24k bonus. And then on top of this, you can add in the ult to it, so it gets kind of ridiculous, right? Now, the other thing I forgot to say about Reaper's ult that is so ridiculous is in sudden death, basically, you can have these situations where you essentially just ult on the point and then it pushes everyone off the point with the 2-second fear, right? And if they're not able to like gap close back in to the point, or they get CC'd before they try to do that, the game is over. You just win because they're off the point long enough. I've seen so many games won by that, and I've won so many games by doing that. It's actually extremely oppressive in sudden death. And it is an easy way to steal games away when your team is already in the advantage. So very good. And on top of that, Reaper has a move speed buff after Hell's Ingress, like, you know, as if they needed it, right? For 5 seconds, but that's still pretty good, especially considering they still have all this stuff. And I'm gonna show a clip in a moment here that is another use of teleport that is just kind of crazy, and the clip will show exactly why. So yeah, I'll put that up here. Also, guys, you can like regress, and if you regress at the end of your teleport timer, you get another teleport. So I got to do that right there. Isn't that kind of bullshit? Alright, so Bard. Oof. Bard. I honestly kind of think Bard might be right here or here. I'm gonna say here, being generous. Because the nerfs that Bard has received over time is very big. I used to play Bard, and Bard was actually the first class I got to Crystal with. I've gotten to Crystal with 6 different classes over the seasons, and Bard used to be super oppressive with the silence, but they nerfed that to the ground and back. Like, that move is nowhere near what it was before, and their burst also went down super hard. So they can't really do that game plan anymore of just like silencing you and then killing you in the silence, which was kind of their best strong suit, especially because you would get these like crazy melee players, or like in season 1 you had these red mages that would just jump in, and if you silence those people that jump in, they're usually dead. But that's not too much the case anymore. I would say if this is a 5v5 tier list, which it is not, I would say Bard is still here. If it was before the patch, Bard would be best. Because Bard in 5v5 competitive, super amazing because the ult basically gives LB generation to everyone, which is also good in solo queue. But the reason it's so good in competitive 5v5 is essentially if your team has a Bard and theirs doesn't, you get +1 ult usage on like everyone, essentially. Or at least most likely. So that's kind of really ridiculous to have in the set of a match. Yeah, and if you've played any games that have like ults and stuff, you know if your team gets off more, it's usually a win kind of thing, especially in high-end play. The other strong suits of Bard is they have good buffs and stuff, so that's still nice at least, but remember, this is like solo queue climbing. We're not here to buff other people, we're here to like, you know, climb and like carry. Of course, the support stuff is still important to mention, as they do a good job of that. But really, when you're like climbing, you want to know how to kill people and stuff. Until like at least like maybe like Diamond. Diamond is where you can start like having people use your stuff better, stuff like that. But yeah, that's my take on Bard. Their snare is pretty good, and their Purify is really great, but the Purify also only gets like major use when you get into Diamond, when you find people like really worth saving, so to speak. But yeah, that's just my take. Machinist. Okay, I think Machinist is a lot better over the days. I think all the buffs to Machinist helped a lot, because in Season 1, even though everyone was like, whoa, this sniper ult is so OP, it is still pretty good, but it really didn't make the character enough of a ranged DPS compared to others. And so the reason that Machinist was kind of struggling is because they have, yeah, they have like no self-heal. So that's really rough, because when you get dove on, you're pretty much dead, or at least you have to keep running, and in that time you're running, you're not doing anything except running. So like you're not damaging, you're not like putting up time, you're not helping your team, and it really creates a problem when you don't have like escape tools, and it makes you very vulnerable, especially like to classes like Reaper, who could just like kind of destroy you. So why are they here? They're still like that. The reason they're here is because they've gotten many buffs over time that have helped them like do more damage and be more part of their, unique identity with their role. But yeah, they're pretty solid. Drill hits really hard, of course. They have good CC with the air anchor. Like, it's a very nice stun, although I'll say the fact that it's not up all the time is its main weakness. The shotgun is pretty good in 1v1s because it double hits. And if you know how to use wildfire correctly with that, you can actually 1v1 a lot of classes that you might be surprised about. I've been able to pull it off, and I've seen others pull it off versus me, and so it's like, there's some pretty sneaky damage you can get with Machinist sometimes. Then their other strong suit is the turret. So the turret got buffed a lot over time, and it like just does so much now. And usually people aren't very good at like not clumping up sometimes in ranked. So once they clump up, or you just place the turret under one of your melees fighting another melee, they just kind of get this massive advantage that kind of forces a win in their situation. And you'd be surprised, most people don't realize that the turret gives vuln up, so they'll like keep fighting when they have the vuln up, and then they'll just melt. The other thing I love about Machinist now is that the buff to Chainsaw was extremely good. Actually, one of their best buffs, because basically it's like so much AoE damage, and when you combine it with Chainsaw and Poison, oh man, you just do some insane AoE. That is actually like rivaling some of the best AoE damage in PvP if they stay stacked up. But the reason it's so good is because now when they're under 50% HP, it does like an extra 8k or something. I don't remember, but it's a lot per hit. And then also you can enhance it to do more damage. Blue S+, honestly, I would put Blue in S if they had their own mechanics. They would be crazy. But yeah, like the Chainsaw is hella good. Very good assassination tool, very good AoE damage, super fantastic. I'm really glad they got rid of that instant kill mechanic. Yeah, blue in PvP would be insane. Alright, now, Dancer. Dancer, I would say, is probably here. Maybe here. We'll put him here for now. Dancer, I feel like, is pretty good. Not like the best though. I think the main thing that Dancer has is like, if people aren't aware of the burst damage combo that you can do from your spinning move, or you let go the full duration, it can actually be surprising what you can do on your own. And now to explain that, because you're probably like, wait, Dancer has burst? And it's like, yes, actually. So you have to set it up. You basically do your like dash like once or twice. You prep a Saber Dance. And then once you have Saber Dance prepped, you hold on to it, and then you go into the Honing Ovation, which is the spin move. And you make sure the spin move gets off the full duration. You can't end it early. If you end it early, it won't work. But basically, if you go the full duration, you essentially just keep spinning, and then at the end of your spin, it allows you to do your next GCD instantaneously. Rather than if you ended it early, it would like reset your GCD timer. So what this means is you end the spin, you do the burst of the spin, then you go into the Saber Dance, and then you throw out all your other shit, and it's pretty good burst. Ice Fighter. So yeah, it's pretty strong. And then of course Dance Partner is really great. Dance Partner is wonderful on tanks, in my opinion. That's who I kind of prioritize first, because they basically last long for you. Well, hello. We're doing our PvP tier list. This is gonna be on YouTube. How you doing? But yeah. Alright, so yeah, Dancer's not bad. Their mobility is really annoying, and also they have a kind of technique that I discovered, and I've seen a few other dancers do it, where basically if you en-vaunt against a corner and you do it correctly, you actually teleport through the corner. And this is really fantastic because you essentially immediately break line of sight, and then people can't target you anymore. Dragoon's pretty good, but not that good. Maybe in 5v5, who knows? But yeah, I also forgot to say Dragoon does have hell AoE burst, so yeah. Completely forgot about their ult. But yeah, Dancer's ult too, pretty good. Very good in Diamond Plus in particular. It won't do actually that much work before you hit Diamond because people won't follow up off of it as well. But I've had situations where in Diamond, like, it basically will just, like, you know, kind of win a game, essentially. Also, Dancer is really good on the fire map for 2 reasons. Oh, 3 reasons actually. One, well, this isn't a reason, but the other ranged and casters suck on the fire map. But Dancer is a unique case where Dancer is actually amazing on the fire map because one, there's so many corners that you can just dash around through and then like not get hit by like stuff or break line of sight instantly. 2, you can abuse that corner tech. And 3, if you have ult, you can actually kill people on your own with ult. What you do, and I've done this multiple times, that's actually pretty consistent if you know the timing, is you ult someone near the fire orbs erupting, and then you pull them into the fire orb using the Honing Ovation to extend their charm timer. And then they basically just die because they take over half their HP, and then you just finish them with the Honing Ovation burst. It's very good. So I would recommend giving that a try if you ever like play Dancer. Like if you see the fire map, be like, maybe I'll try it. You know, they can be pretty spicy in that sense. Last thing I'll say about Dancer. So the support skills I think are very good, especially on tanks, because you can make them live for super long. If you go in and use Curing Waltz while standing on them, you can create surprising situations where they like barely live a 1v1, for example, and that's the world's difference. So if you use all that stuff together, you'll do really well at Dancer. But that's also why I don't think Dancer is any higher, because kind of like Ninja, you have to do a lot with your kit. Like you have to realize where to use all your stuff. So yeah, pretty good though, I would say. Alright, Black Mage. Very easy S here. So Black Mage is pretty busted nowadays. Some might even think it's like one of the best of here. So the reason Black Mage is so oppressive is because they do crazy damage, and then they have crazy CC with the ice mode. So what you do with Black Mage is typically in low elo, you just spam the fire mode because people don't realize how heavy the dot damage is. And then in high end, in Diamond Plus, you just keep spamming the ice mode, because what's so good about the ice magic is that when you freeze them, of course they're vulnerable, right? But the best part, and I think the better part is the fact that you get it so often. It means the first time they're gonna purify, right? Because I would purify if I was frozen. Like, because I know I'm gonna get destroyed. So they purify the first time, but then you like just hit them with more ice magic. And then what are they going to do? They either have to stay in the fight and get frozen again, or they have to like back off a little bit from you. And this creates a lot of pressure on their purifies. And the best part about this, in my opinion, and I think what makes Black Mage really strong, is the fact that when you do this, burning purifies means your teammate's CC is now prepared and now can go in without them getting purified. So now they can do whatever the heck they want, and they can do all their CC combos. And CC is really good in Crystal Conflict right now, especially in solo queue, because you can really set up kills very easily by chaining CC. And Black Mage is also extremely good at that. So basically, kind of the TLDR is Black Mage is extremely good at, you know, putting people in bad positions. Now, I'll also say the other good things about Black Mage. Their ult is amazing. It gives them instant casts as a ranged. They get access to the polyglot for the foul, which is big damage. And also, the other thing that I think is strong about Black Mage is Burst is kind of an insane skill, actually. The reason it's so good is because I don't know if y'all have read the potency on it, but it's 16k. That is so high. That is the damage of near some ultimates. And that's insane because it's just on a 20-second like duration cooldown skill. So it's like you just gap close to someone and then you get the instant cast proc and then you pop it and then they like take like 16,000 damage on top of whatever else you're gonna do to them. And then like yeah. Also yeah, if you ignore Black Mage, you just lose. So like Black Mage does create like this kind of presence in Crystal Conflict where like if people ignore you, it's kind of just a free win. Like you really have to respect Black Mage. I'll say the main difficult thing about Black Mage can be like you need to work on your positioning. If you position incorrectly, I mean, of course, positioning for everyone is key. But if you position incorrectly, you die so much faster than everyone else. But if you also know how to use your transpose to like get to other people faster, or ethereal manipulation, that's what it's called, you can like get yourself out of bad situations more. So yeah. All right. So we are actually on to what I think is the best class in CC right now, for climbing at least, and maybe the best class in CC right now, aside from like a really good Reaper player. So why is Summoner so good? Summoner is just insane AoE damage, and I thought that like I underestimated Summoner until I played it, and then I climbed to Crystal so easily again. Yeah, Summoner is insane. So the reason Summoner is so good is because the AoE damage is so high. You drop down the Garuda, which gives your team movement speed and kind of acts as some zone control. Mountain Buster is insane. It is one of the best CC buttons in Crystal Conflict because it has such a low cooldown that you can just get access to a CC move that creates a very threatening situation to enemies so often. And it's AoE too. And when you hit AoE, the ever people get heavied. So it's like all the moves almost are AoE on Summoner. So if you set up these situations, you just kind of destroy the enemy team's HP. And it's very easy to get 1 mil plus damage, even if people don't stack up all the time. Because your AoEs are so big that it doesn't kind of matter. And if they do, then they're just super dead. The other thing that's strong about Summoner is Summoner has some pretty decent burst. I would say above average. You have to set it up a little bit, but basically what you do is you do the first hit of the gap closer, then you hold on to the second hit, then you save up your festers and your mountain buster, you charge up a Garuda on someone, you pop the next GCD of the second hit of the mountain buster instantly after, since it's an instant GCD after a cast, which lines up like a double cast, like on Red Mage, for example. So you line up those two GCDs immediately, Mountain Buster, and then Double Fester. And that can sometimes kill people from 70% HP if they're squishy, before they realize they need to heal. So that's a pretty good combo. Also, hi Kenta, how's it going? We're doing our tier list that's going to be on YouTube for Crystal Conflict, solo queue climbing to Crystal. I can also attest that when other people have played Summoner, they have also gotten to Crystal very easily. They were like, wait, this is easy to play when they saw me playing it. So yeah, Summoner, honestly, really fantastic. The other thing that is good about Summoner is Bahamut is crazy. So imagine that combo I just told y'all about. Now add in Bahamut into it. Bahamut is so insane, chat. Like, it is easily one of the best ultimates in Final Fantasy PvP because it is just so jam-packed with, like, stuff. And what I mean by that is you have the initial damage on everyone, which is, on its own, it could be an ultimate. Then you have the autos from Bahamut, which are also good. Then you have the enhanced GCDs that you get from Dreadworm Trance, which is also good. And then on top of that, you get access to Mega Flare or Akmorn. Because, yes, this does take into the most recent patch. That's why Bard's actually kind of low. And also, this is not for Frontline, which I did see they got nerfed in Frontline, which is good. They were way too good in Frontline. Um, but yeah, so Bahamut literally does 4 things at once that help you kill the enemy team. That is so insane. And the Akmorn is AoE damage too. Like, that's so crazy. And not to mention, Mega Flare, which is the initial cast damage, is like the size of Antarctica. You can't miss it. Like, it's so big. It's actually crazy. If you haven't played Summoner, you'd actually be so surprised when you press that ult button. You're gonna be like, wait, this is like an LV3 range for casters. So, Bahamut is absolutely insane. Now, they have one more tool up their sleeve that is actually really good. They have the, what is it called? The shield. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. If I talk about it more, I'll probably remember it. But yeah, they have the shield. What was it called? Does anyone remember the name? I can't believe I forgot the name. But yeah, it's a fantastic move because what it does, yes, thank you, Radiant Aegis. So it's so good because on top of giving a shield, it actually does something else. And most people don't know about this. No, you're good. You definitely reminded me of what it is. So on top of giving a shield, it also gives that player mitigation. And most people don't know that. It was like 10% or 20% mitigation. That is insane. The amount of people I have saved by pressing that button, the fact that you can press it on others is so insane. And in Diamond, when you save another player, their value is much higher because usually they know more what they're doing. And so if you save them, they can like go and heal, they can go get an HP pack, they can maybe kill another player, you know? Like, the possibilities are so high with that button. I've had so much success with that button. Because here's the other thing. You can just use it on yourself. You can weave it with a potion, and then suddenly you have access to this option that no one else does. Where you just suddenly get like a shield, mitt, and a pot. So you like heal up super fast. So it also makes you harder to kill. So yeah, Summoner, they have the sauce. They're so crazy. And what's crazy is like, they didn't really get like many buffs or anything. To a diamond, I'm not sure. But yeah, they're fantastic. Super good. If you're looking for an easy class to play, I would recommend giving Summoner a shot, especially if you do the things I said with like the combo. You'll just blow people up and then be like, huh, this is an easy way to get up in ranked. Like almost all my games I got 1 mil plus damage. It's so good. Would I say Summoner is the best potential though? No, I think Reaper is probably the best potential, but we're factoring in difficulty here. Summoner is very easy to pick up, very fast to learn, so high recommendations there. Alright, Red Mage. So, I would say Red Mage is here. Maybe here. Yeah, this sounds about right. So I would say Red Mage is here. Red Mage is pretty solid. But Red Mage is also kind of like Ninja and Dancer, and, you know, like in the sense that they have a lot in their kit, and you have to know when to use each tool to your advantage. Like, the Silence is super fantastic on the White Shiv. They were so OP before. So they got all of these nerfs, but they're still quite solid. You just have to kind of know what you're doing. You can still have pretty good damage over time with the dots. You know, you can still give a lot of support to your team. You can enhance the damage that enemies take. So there's like a lot of good little things Red Mage has. Southern Cross, I think it's called, is a pretty good ult. It does a surprising amount of damage when you use it correctly, and also it can just be used under you and just like be sure, I'll rate blue next. It can just be like very good for saving you and your team. And yeah, they have good gap closers, so they're good at chasing people. So if you've like find someone who's basically dead, they're just like extra dead because you gap close them, you do all the CC stuff and whatever, and it's really good. Alrighty. So now we're gonna talk about blue. Blue will be short. They would be busted if they're in PvP. Sadly, they're not. We could talk about theoretically why. They would just like, use the sticky tongue on you from like some Swift cast or something. They'd pull you in, they'd like freeze you or whatever, and then they'd do like the ultra vibration and kill you instantly. So yeah, they would be pretty busted, guys. Theoretically, if they were in PvP. Yeah, that's why I made this. Alright. So now we'll talk about Paladin. We're on to the tanks. Well, actually, I don't know why. We'll just, you know what? Let's just do Monk. Monk's over here. So, I think Monk is like a tie between here and here. I will put them here for now because they do kind of have a ceiling of skill that you can have for them, but they're also like very easy to do well with if you know the game plan to take with them. Now, what I mean by that is essentially if you ult the enemy team's carry or their best player every time, your chances of winning goes up crazy. And it took a bit for Monk players to realize this, including myself, really. I used to play Monk. I got Monk to Crystal as my second character to Crystal, or class to Crystal. And that was in Season 1. And what's so scary is their ult, of course, right? And if you ult the best player on the enemy team, you really shut down the enemy team. Because in Crystal Conflict, often you'll find in matches, it's usually like 1 to 2 people doing like a huge amount of work on a team sometimes, and those teams usually win. So Monk is kind of the counter to that, and they're also just really good in general. They have pretty good sustain, although granted that was nerfed, so maybe I'd actually put them here, because that Riddle of Earth nerf was actually a little massive in my opinion, if you play that character or class. So yeah, they have pretty decent sustain in battle. They do good damage. If you know how to do the full combo, you can do 60k damage on someone without them being able to react. So that's scary. And yeah. Yeah, Monk and Ninja, yeah. They're pretty crazy. Not to mention, Monk's pretty scary if you know how to like just gap close to someone, stun them, walk behind them, push them into your team, then gap toes to them again. Suddenly, you just went to one of their team members, been like nothing personnel, and pushed them into your team, and then went with them. Hi Nom, I'm doing pretty good. We're making a tier list for Final Fantasy PvP for YouTube, because I played a lot of that. Also, hi Rob, how's it going? So yeah. Monk is pretty crazy in that sense. Monk also has very good damage, and yeah, they can also shield their allies, which is kind of cool. I've had situations where that was useful. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty good. Also, if you pretty much set up the Phantom Flurry with a Phoenix, Rising Phoenix, which buffs your next GCD, you can do 15k AoE damage. That's a lot of AoE damage. And if you do that right on people, that's almost like a mini ultimate in itself. So, pretty good. Alright. We're going to talk about Paladin now. So, Paladin, I almost want to put them right here. They keep getting buffed, and honestly, they're so solid. I'm just going to put them here for now. So, what makes Paladin so good is that they're so tanky. It's ridiculous. Like, their tank buttons just make them live so long. And then I think the absolute best part about Paladin is the fact that they can cover someone, and then that person can just use a standard issue elixir without any repercussion. So what do I mean by this? So essentially, you cover someone, they get to use their full HP pot and full MP pot for free, and even if the enemy team is hitting them, they can't get interrupted because all the damage and CC is going to the Paladin. So it literally is so free to make people heal someone full HP. And to take it a step forward, you just then go ahead and put up guard as the Paladin, and then there is literally so few interactions that can stop this from happening. You would literally need like maybe like a perfectly positioned Reaper ult to like push the Paladin away from the target they're covering, or you'd need like some guard break into like a knockback. It's like so specific. It's like good luck to stop that, you know? Because the other thing too about the standard issue elixir is if you've played a good amount of CC, you realize that after a certain point of the standard issue elixir's cast bar, it snaps, and then there's nothing they can do. You just get the full HP and MP. So I've seen that happen where the cover ends, but the standard issue snaps, and then it doesn't matter, right? Like the HP and MP go through, they're full HP and MP, then the enemies are in a bad position because they're trying to dive the whoever target the Paladin covered. So very good. Let's switch around the music here. But yeah, Paladin's really amazing. Yeah, they can just sit on the point for a while too. Their ult is so good. Their ult basically, you know, it makes them invincible, and it basically makes your team invincible because it gives them 50% mitigation, which is insane. You almost never kill people when they have Paladin ult on them. And then on top of that, in the Paladin ult, you can just cover someone, and then there's literally no way you can die. So, pretty crazy. On top of that too, that ult is super good in sudden death because it really just stalls how long your team lives on a point. And just in general, since it's like kind of the AoE of like the crystal, is very good. Yeah, no, that was really dumb in frontline. I do remember that. So yeah, I think Paladin's pretty great. Because the thing too is, well, the cover interaction does require your teammates to use it. There's actually quite, like, even when I was playing in, like, Silver, people knew how to, like, use it. And I was like, whoa, okay. Paladin's suddenly way better because people know how to use that interaction. So, yeah, Paladin's really good. Now, Warrior. Warrior's a little tough for me. I kind of want to say here, even though I feel here. But yeah, we're going to go with here. So, Warrior is really solid. They kind of have that same problem Ninja has, though, where they have so much in their kit that you really have to know how to use all your buttons and when to make them really good. But sometimes, they just, like, go kind of crazy. Although, it was for PvP. Yeah, it's for PvP. It's for CC in particular. So, I do think War is kind of on a comeback. I would say if this is, like, you know, high-end, if you fight a good Warrior player, they'll make your life so bad. They'll just keep chasing you and keep sustaining and keep hitting you with Fell Cleaves in their ult. And if they know how to do that, oh man. I've seen so many streamers and other people and myself and friends all say like, man, when you fight a good Warrior, they just are able to harass you so much and get away with it. And yeah, the Yank is really good too. Primal Rend is still a fantastic button. It's still an AoE CC for like 2 seconds now, I think, after the nerf, but still fantastic. And then they also have a guard break on their ult, which is really good. They get more healing in their ult, if I do recall. Yeah, so very good like class at brawling, and their burst can be surprisingly good if you use your stuff right. Yeah, exactly. A good warrior will chase you down to the gates of hell. They'll just keep going. They don't give a fuck because they're so tanky. Now let's also talk about that, right? They can either do that or they can just stay in a team fight and heal for days compared to the other like classes. Dark Knight is also particularly good at that. But yeah, warrior can do that too. And I've had games where like I've like played like some sort of support or something like dancer, and I've put like my buffs on a warrior, and they just live the entire game. And then I look at their healing at the end of the game, and it's like 800,000 or something. It's like holy hell, you know. Like they've healed so much, and they really kind of carried by just hunkering down on whatever the objective is, and just fighting the whole time. So yeah. All right, Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight is. This is for CC guys, not Frontlines. I need to remind you that, because if it was Frontlines, they'd be like up here, in like Transcendent tier or whatever. But this is CC only, so. Let's see. I might just say here for now. We can edit it later. But yeah, Dark Knight is pretty solid. Yeah, if it was Frontlines, they'd be like, like, they're insane Frontlines. They're much more toned down in Crystal Conflict, still incredibly powerful. Their damage in a 1v1 can be really oppressive. The TBN can be really good for saving teammates. The suction is still annoying, and it's good for setting up AoE combos with other classes like Machinist or something, or Ninja, or like Summoner. So that can be really strong. Yeah. And when they're in Salted Earth, they're like unkillable basically. And then of course their ult stalls them for how long they live. And then the scary part about Eventide or Eventide is that when they set up the burst, if they choose to, they can just send Eventide from full HP and then just do 20 like 6k or 20k AoE damage on the everyone they pull in. And that's insane, guys. Like if you catch their team out of position, you can just kill them all basically, you know? Like it's so crazy. And yeah, they get stronger when they get lower, so it's like there's kind of like a little bit of managing you have to do to play them well, but they're quite good, quite solid. I might say Ninja's a little better, but you know, I don't know. We'll do this for now. All right, Gunbreaker. I think Gunbreaker is pretty solid. I would say S. Gunbreaker is really good because they just do so much damage as a tank. And then on top of that, they're like the best 1v1ers in CC if you have the tank cartridge, which after a certain patch, they can cartridge themselves, which is so good, guys. I can't tell you how big that buff was. Because when you turn on the tank buff, you just can't die in a 1v1. And when you're 1v1ing most classes, they can't handle that because they just hit you, they get damage reflected, you get like shielded, you get reduced damage or whatever, and they just can't do anything. Because when you're in the tank stance too, your gnashing gives you a shield, which you're using your gnashing like all the time when you're 1v1. So it's like, it's crazy. And I noticed a lot of Gunbreakers will go like the DPS stance or something, and I'm like, okay, if they open with DPS, I'm like, okay, that Gunbreaker might not know what they're doing. But because usually you want to open with the tank one. It's so crazy. Healer's also okay, and I'll be honest, there is a time where you go DPS. It's a little hard to see when, but there is a time. Because sometimes that extra damage really does make the difference. But yeah, their ult is also really good. It comes on such a short cooldown, although I will say in high-end play, it's pretty hard to get off a full ult, which is kind of the bad part about it, but in lower ends, it can kind of carry games. And then doing the double down after ult, like you just destroy them, you destroy their HP. And if everyone gets hit by the maxed Merciless Assault stacks from your ult, they just take extra damage like crazy. And then they just die because of double down follow-up. It's actually kind of nuts. So I've had some clips where it's like I kill like 4 people off like that, and it's like really satisfying. But again, in high level, they won't let you do that. Rightfully so, you know, because it does take a bit of cast time. Okay. White Mage. Oh man. I would have said White Mage is like up here before, but the recent patch notes, Oh man, it actually really hurt them. At least in solo queue. I would put them here. Or maybe, you know what? Yeah, here sounds good actually. I would put them right here. So, what's so good about White Mage is, most people know their ult is fantastic. The polymorph is insane. They have good healing. They have a gap closer. And yeah, I mean, honestly, those two things, the ult and the polymorph, is just the character alone or the class alone. Yeah, they nerfed polymorph. So now polymorph will be used at least 1 to 2 times less per match, which is actually massive. That's a huge nerf. So I would not call them like a easy climb character or class anymore. I would say if you place everything correctly and heal well, you'll probably still climb with ease. But you really have to use the rest of your kit now. You can't just be like Lamau ult or Lamau polymorph kind of combos anymore. You have to actually use the full kit. So, yeah, they got nerfed pretty hard. I don't think I need to explain much of what else they do because I think people are very familiar with White Mage as I feel like everyone who's touched PvP has seen a White Mage because it was so popular before. Like, it's impossible to not know what that class does. But yeah, they're quite solid still. I would still recommend it if you're looking to climb on a healer. Unless you're wanting to play another healer, which we'll talk about in the next part. So we're gonna talk about Scholar. I might actually put Scholar down here. Yeah, I actually think this is right. So Scholar is really bad in most of the elos, unfortunately. In frontline, Scholar is crazy, but remember, we're talking CC here. So Scholar is really bad in CC in most cases because they do not have crowd control. And that actually puts them at a huge disadvantage compared to everyone else in this game in PvP. Having crowd control is so important. So they can put out a lot of shielding, which is good. And they can put out the Seraphim buff, which gives the Purify shield, which is good. Those things are good, and they have a strength buff on everyone. That's nice. They have the poison damage on everyone, which nerfs their damage. That's also good. But the problem is all these things are good, but you're basically a full support at this rate. Because you also have that heal decrease, which all these tools are begging for someone to follow up off of. So they're fantastic in frontline. They go kind of crazy in frontline, but that's a different story. So Scholar is unfortunately really weak in most levels because you only need they only are really good when you get to Diamond Plus. If we were just talking Diamonds, I would actually put them up here or up here, still in B tier, but I've seen Scholar kind of work better when it gets to Diamond or Crystal, because people know how to use the tools that they're given, and they know how to use the damage reduction and the Seraph stuff, so it's alright, Sadly though, I would not recommend them for climbing. They're very hard. I've seen so many people struggle with it. Alright. Astro. Astro is so crazy right now. I actually would put Astro here. The reason Astro is so crazy is because they just do so much healing now. It's so unfair. You can't kill them unless you chain CC them or burst them to hell and back. And if you mess up that burst, the second they press Essential on themselves, you're not killing them. I promise you. Their healing is so insane. They have good AoE damage. Their ult is the team fight win button in high end. So yeah, they're just so good. On top of that, they give out buffs. Their kit is so fantastic. They can also pump out some decent 1v1 damage if you keep spamming the double with Malefic. And people don't know that because you just keep looping it kinda. So yeah, And macro, yeah, macro still does stupid damage. Like macro Cosmos is insane. Like I have a clip that I could show in a little bit maybe, where basically it's like you do double gravity macro, and then they just like lose over half their HP in AoE. It's so crazy, guys. Yeah, so they're really good. I don't think there's too much other stuff to talk about with them. I think we talked about most of their kit. They're very straightforward, actually, surprisingly, with the amount of depth they have still. But yeah, they're really good. They're mainly up here again because their healing got buffed, and their healing is just oppressively good now. It's so hard to kill them. Alright, Sage. Sage is one I'm actually not the most sure on. I'll think about it for a moment. I think this is the right spot. Yeah, yeah. We'll probably adjust order later, to be honest. After we're done, which we're almost done. So Sage. Sage is pretty cool. They have an insane ultimate. Uh, like, yeah. Sage's ultimate goes crazy. It is literally a game-winning button right there. It's hard to play though, so that's also why it's here. So what are the strengths of Sage? Sage is like a healer that like sacrifices a lot of their healing for damage and damage amplifications for your team. But then they also have like that really good utility from their ultimate. So often like you need to do a mix of like your cardia swapping, like sometimes put it on yourself, sometimes put it on the tank. You know when to pop Numa, so you get like all the mitts on everyone and do damage at the same time. Like there's a little bit of stuff you need to know how to do, and also you need to know when to go in on Sage because Sage, when they pop all their burst, when they go in with the phlegmas and the toxicons, is actually really scary. And then if you also do your gimmick correctly, where you set up the dot, then you get the shield, then someone like breaks the shield on like whoever you put on, you get like a super toxicon. So if you know how to use that, you can do like some big ass damage. Yeah, it can be. I also forgot to mention with Dancer, you're gonna have to do that too if you want to get good at Dancer. But yeah, their ult is so good because for those that don't know, what their ult does is they plays down a zone where when your team is in the zone, they get the Masodes buff, and when your enemy is in the zone, they get the Masodes debuff. So what the buff does is it makes it so that they are invincible. Yes, invincible to damage unless the enemy team has the debuff for Masodes. And what the debuff for Masodes does is, of course, it allows you to damage the people in your zone, but also it makes them take one of the nastiest dots in PvP. So it basically kind of creates this situation where they have to commit to taking really, really high damage to contest you and your team. And it fits the size of the point. So when you're in like the end of the game, that button is so like game winning because you can also reposition it once. So you basically put it down on the point, you and your team gets in it. Now guess what? The enemy team literally has to go inside it, which also just really messes up ranged classes' day because they can't be ranged anymore. They have to go in melee range. So then your melees just get to body them. So it's like really scary. Yeah, that ult is so good. Easily one of the best ults in PvP. The only thing holding it back is that you usually only get 2 off for a match. Because of the time of the ult. So I think that's the only thing holding it back. But it's such a good ult that it kind of like they deserve to be here, especially with all the damage amp stuff they have for their team. All right, so this is the final tier list for now. We're gonna go ahead and check ordering. I'm basically gonna go through each of the tiers and think like, for example, like, oh, do I think Monk is better than Reaper, like sort of thing, or vice versa with all the others, and then we'll get the ordering kind of straight. All right, so Summoner, yes, this is good. I agree. Summoner should be here. Reaper, yes. I would say it would be like this if the nerf didn't just happen to Monk, but the nerf happened to Monk, so we're playing Monk here. Yes, I would say Monk is stronger than Astro. Yes, I would say Astro is stronger than Black Mage. Black Mage is definitely better than Dragoon. I definitely think Dragoon's better than Paladin. I kinda want to keep this placement too. I would say if it's low end only, then Gunbreaker would be here. But factoring in like diamonds, like Paladin just keeps getting better and better the higher you go. Yeah, White Mage is definitely better than Warrior in terms of climbing. I think Warrior has more potential, but we're factoring in difficulty here. Do I think Warrior is better than Ninja? No, actually, I think Ninja's a little better. Still tricky to play though, but they're both tricky to play, so really depends on what kind of players you have when piloting these classes here. Yeah, I think Sage is stronger than Dark Knight. Yeah, I think Dark Knight's better than Machinist. Machinist is definitely better than Red Mage. I would maybe say Dancer is stronger than Red Mage, actually. I would definitely say Samurai is stronger than Bard after Bard's nerfs. Bard's nerfs were basically crippling this patch. And Scholar is here. Okay. Yep, so this is it, guys. This is the final tier list. But yeah, if y'all have any comments, you can comment below or, in Twitch chat here. And yeah, so this is getting uploaded to YouTube. So say hi, YouTube, everyone. But yeah, any questions, anyone? Or thoughts? We'll be wrapping this up soon and then doing some dailies or something. I think most Scholar players, unfortunately, do know their class sucks in CC. I've talked to a few Scholar mains and they're like, yeah. But yeah, y'all play Summoner. They're crazy broken. Also, why did Reaper get buffed? I don't get it. And the buff was actually pretty nice. Nodders. Okay. So yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. I need to use the restroom, get some water. I've been talking for a little bit. Me too. I wonder where Dark Pictomancer will be. I can't wait to play it. True, I can't tell you what to pay. I don't pay your sub. So I'll actually say, hold on. So let's be real here. The best class to pick for climbing is usually the one you play best, but I will say these ones up here will help you climb from my experience. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a BRB here. See you guys soon. Hey guys, this is the end of the video. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all and your support. Or to those of you who also watch my Twitch channel, thank you so much. I definitely love doing this and I plan to make more content in the future. If you did find this helpful, it would help me a lot if you did leave a like or subscribe. I definitely plan to make more, so please look forward to it if you're into this kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you so much. And you can also check out my Twitch channel. It's going to be in the description below. So thank you so much, guys. I'll catch you later. Have a great night and or day wherever you are out there and stay cozy. Bye bye.